Adapting conflict zone perception in strategic environmental planning case study Egypt, presented by Dr. Marwa Adel, Associate Professor at the British University in Egypt, Faculty of Engineering, Architecture, Engineering Department. The last decade has perceived a core change in the planning process for urban development, in which environmental protection is noticed as of vital importance for sustainable urban development. The rapid pace for urbanization, especially in developing countries, continues to encourage the urban communities' construction without endorsing sustainability aspects. Therefore, they are facing various challenges to apply a long-term planned sustainable development. The sensitive ecological area development is the most remarkable amongst the practices of the planning evolving in Egypt in the recent years. The strategic planning level needs to consider environmental aspects, especially to what regards sensitive area with high potential for urban development termed conflict zone, and this is the main target of the research. Now, reaching the research aim and result, the paper aims to present a pilot method to pin out the location of a conflict zone in both Sinai and Egyptian Western Desert using Geographic Information System (GIS) as a tool. The results set a mitigation measure for biodiversity loss, risks to natural habitat, marine life disturbance, hydrogeological environmental impact to support the strategic planning objectives. For the site description, the researcher chose two important areas in Egypt, which are Sector A in Sinai, which covers 17,732 kilometers square, and the northern part of the Egyptian Western Desert, which covers 235,339 kilometers square. The research method. Here, the research adopts a meta-analysis investigative two-step methods, primarily using the GIS to determine the location of a conflict zone, and secondly, applying the SEE method to propose mitigation measures for adverse impact expected from the urban development process. This chart shows that the research method accommodates both qualitative and quantitative set of data, and this applied into two steps. First step is divided into three stages. Stage 1, which is the data gathering stage, where a set of qualitative and quantitative data gathered from different sources, maps, statistics, chart, reports, etc. Stage 2 is the data combination, where all the maps and data are populated to GIS. Then they are combined in one joint overlaid feature class, and two maps are resulted from this stage. Map 1 is developed according to the literature review and categorized according to the following criteria: high sensitive areas, moderate sensitive areas, low sensitive areas. Map 2 are developed after two phases applied in the GIS. Phase 1 is a query applied on the overlay map for both Sinai and Western Desert to develop an urban activity alternative map, and these urban activities are determined according to the existing planning potential and constraints in both areas of interest, as well as the Egypt Vision Plan 2030. Then phase 2, a second query is applied for the alternatives. This query reflects the national strategy for Egypt 2030, which helped defining the potentials of urban development, and this categorized in the following: area with high urban development, area with moderate urban development, area with low urban development. Then, moving now to step 2, the step 2 shows the mitigation measures which are identified for both for the conflict zone in both case of studies. The areas selected by GIS as a conflict zone in Sinai are suitable for touristic development. Accordingly, biodiversity loss, risk to natural habitat, and marine life disturbance impacts are expected. On the other hand, the areas selected in the Egyptian Western Desert as conflict zones are suitable for agriculture development. Therefore, the hydrogeological environmental impacts are expected. Now, this slide shows you the result of step 1, which showed both the conflict zones in both Sinai and Egyptian Western Desert. Now, a result of step 2 showed the estimated impacts for both Sinai and Egyptian Western Desert, and these impacts are as follows: protected areas, endangered species and birds disturbance, decline in the number of biogeological communities, breakdown in the functioning of an ecosystem. estimated impacts like the water turbidity and the quality of the marine life, the growth of the microorganisms in the sea, overfishing, oil spills, and destruction of marine habitats, possible infrastructure pipeline leakage which shall lead to the contamination of the underground aquifers and groundwater, impacts on the water quality and the drainage condition, pollution due to the discarding of wastewater or groundwater loading table, overuse for the aquifers led to the salination of the groundwater, cultivating crops that add stress to the soil. Finally, I reached the conclusion of the research, and first I will start by saying that the process of defining the location of the conflict zone is a vital necessity in the urban planning process to be able to integrate the environmental perspective in consideration and balance sustainable targets. Accordingly, the required mitigation measure should be identified in advance and declared for planners, policymakers, and investors. For setting environmental mitigation measures for the expected urban development impacts is considered as a challenging progression due to the various environmental impacts and the ecological sensitivity of the site. Finally, I can say that this study presents a pilot method to determine the location of a conflict zone using the GIS and then propose mitigation measures that support the strategic environmental assessment implementation and consider the ongoing studies while setting development scenarios for both areas of interest. Thank you very much.